Hello. Hello. How are you? Can you please say hello in the chat so I know who's in here? Just say hello and tell me where you are right now. That would be interesting. Ifunanya, cool name. Mona from the US. Hello, Mona. Wilson from the US. Ifunanya is also in New York. Fantastic. What a great city. Oh my God, it's the coolest city ever. Jennifer, hello from New York. Happiness, hello from the UK. Nice to see you, Happiness. It's a good name. Teresa from Southampton. Arnaldo from Florida. Ivan from New York. Right, that's it. Next time I come to New York, I hope you guys can shout me a dinner or something. That would be awesome. Looks like a lot of you are there. What a cool city. What a just magnificent place. Very interesting. Sharon from Nigeria. Cool. And I think we've got lots of people watching on YouTube as well. So hello to you on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, come across to e2language.com. There's more available on the platform than there is just on YouTube. Okay, whoops, I forgot to download my presentation. Hold on, give me 1 second here. While I'm doing this, just pop into the chat when your test is. When is your test? And let me download this. This will only take a second. I'm just trying to get some coffee into my bloodstream, if you don't mind. Okay. All right, there's my presentation. That's good. And let me share the screen. Oops. No. Come on, work with me. All right, cool. All right, we've got quite a bit to get through today, so I might get started actually. Just before I do that, I just want to find out when your test is. So a range of different dates. Oh, somebody's taking it tomorrow, December the 4th, 5th of December, 7th, October 24, November the 6th, so 6th or 7th. Okay, looks like there's lots of tests going on, so that's interesting. I wonder who's taking the OET at home or the computer-based OET test, which is interesting. Okay, hi everybody, my name is Jay. I'm one of the expert OET teachers here at E2 Language. What we're going to do in this live class is look at writing in depth, okay? I'm really going to take you through everything you need to know about the writing subtest. And just before I begin, if you're a member of E2 Language, a free member of E2 Language, and you have less than 30 days to prepare, which it looks like most of you do, you might want to think about purchasing our new package called the Showtime package. It comes with a study plan, like a one-on-one study plan with a teacher who will take you through and just make sure that you're ready to go and tell you everything you need to do. It comes with a 45-minute one-on-one tutorial, which you can use for writing or speaking or both, which would be good, or reading or listening, up to you. It comes inclusive of the mini mock test, and it comes with unlimited live classes in those 30 days. So in fact, I think you would squeeze in about 50 live classes with our expert teachers. So it's $89. So pretty good value for money, honestly. So if you get a short period of time to prepare, check that one out. I think you'll need to go to this website here, or if you log in, there'll be a hyperlink on the website that'll take you to the landing page. Also, if you haven't yet taken the OET test and you've just sort of been learning about it and doing some practice, etc., it's a really good idea to actually put yourself under pressure and do it, but not the real thing for practice, because that's expensive and time consuming and risky. What you want to do is take our mini mock test with feedback. You'll have to take it really seriously. And it's 2 hours. You'll have to sit there and you'll have to do it. Make sure you have a glass of water and you've been to the bathroom and you've had a big meal, etc. Because it's intense. It's intense. It's going to make you a bit tired after a while. But you're going to do all the aspects of the OET test: listening, reading, writing, okay, all in one sitting. That'll take you 2 hours. Then what you'll do is you're going to book a one-on-one speaking mock test that'll happen on Zoom with an expert teacher. And then within 24 to 48 hours, you're going to get your feedback. Okay, and the feedback is very important. So it'll be based on your writing and your speaking, etc., where our teachers will go through and mark your writing and also give you feedback on your speaking. So this is well worth doing before your OET test. Make sure you book in early for your speaking test. All right, enough of that. Let's focus in on OET writing. And this table that we're looking at here is important. In fact, this is what it's all about. This is what the examiner on test day, no, sorry, not on test day. What happens on test day is you write your test, then it gets sent somewhere where an OET examiner will, within a few days, be looking at your writing and cross-referencing your writing with this table here. Okay, this is called the criteria. And so this is like the checklist that they'll work with. They'll look at your letter and they'll look at this checklist and they're going to give you a score for the different aspects there. Okay, so if you're aiming for a B score, you'll need to get between 350 and 440 points. That's the equivalent of an IELTS 7 to 7.5. What that means here with the table, it means you get 2 out of 3 for purpose, and you get on average 5 out of 7 for the other criteria. So we need to make sure we do this properly, and we need to understand what the examiners are looking for in your writing, okay? Doesn't matter if you write like Herman Hesse or Hemingway. If you're not writing as per the examiner's demands, then it's a problem, okay? So if we look closely at that table, we'll see that there are 6 criteria, okay? There's purpose, content, conciseness and clarity, genre and style, organization and layout, and language. And all of these criteria have to be expressed within 180 to 200 words of the body of your letter, which is pretty crazy. Actually, all up, it's about 220 words. So there's a lot that we have to squeeze in here into our letter, being conscious of these criteria. Let's firstly focus on purpose. This is worth fewer marks than the other ones. You'll notice that the other ones are worth between 0 to 7. Purpose is a rather small part of your letter that you just have to get right. And what we're going to do today is we're going to base the criteria, or we're going to look at it carefully based on this model letter here. And this is an excellent quality model letter written by our E2 language teachers. Okay, so let's firstly, before we look at purpose, look at the overall letter structure. This is basically, you might want to take a photograph of this on your phone. This is really the structure of the letter, the overall macro structure of the letter. You can have a date. The date can go at the top or it can go below the address. It doesn't matter. You'll have the date, you'll have the address, you'll have the dear and the regarding the patient. So dear Miss Pasquale regarding Mr. George Chien and the patient's age. Next one down, you'll see purpose there. Okay, that's the purpose statement. Then below that, you've got the expanded purpose. Then you've got these 2 paragraphs down here. Now, these are just supplementary, ancillary, auxiliary paragraphs. These depend entirely on the case notes. You might have 1, you might have 2, you might have 3, you might have 4, who knows? It depends on the way that you're going to write your letter on test day based on those case notes and the task. Then you'll have a request, that is, you are asking the recipient of the letter to do something for you. Very politely, you're going to ask them to do something, you're going to request something. Then you have your sign off, okay? So this is the macro structure of the letter. As I mentioned, the date can go at the top or below the address. And the address comes from the task itself, okay? In the task, you'll see the recipient's name, Loretta Pasquale. You'll see her profession. You'll see her address of her clinic, etc. So all of that is taken from the task, written very quickly there. Then you do the dear Miss Pasquale regarding the patient. Then you get into the purpose. So let's go back to purpose now. This is why I want to kick off. So there are 2 parts to the purpose criteria. The first one, 1A, is that the purpose of your letter is immediately apparent. What that means is this. Here's the analogy. You write your letter. Imagine you give it to the recipient, so the physiotherapist gets it. Now, when she looks at your letter, that first little purpose statement, she should immediately understand why you're writing to her, about whom, and what is the main issue. Really 3 things. Let's have a look at an example one here. Mr. Chien requires your professional assistance for his ongoing difficulties with mobility following recent surgery. Okay, so what we've done is we've just taken, we've created the smallest, most important little story possible for the physiotherapist. After she reads this single sentence, or maybe a couple of sentences, she should have a very good idea about why you have written to her, okay? You require her professional assistance for Mr. Chien, who's having issues following surgery, issues with mobility following surgery, okay? That's a key one to get right, okay? It needs to be concise. And there it is there. That's where the purpose statement sits. Okay, second part of the purpose statement, which is this part here, below here, you'll see that second paragraph there. What is that? Well, what you're doing there is you're expanding upon that single purpose statement. Basically, you're fleshing it out and telling the story in a little bit more detail. So let's look at the example. It says, Mr. Chien requires your professional assistance for his ongoing difficulties with mobility following recent surgery. Cool, got it. Now give me some more details about what happened here. Tell me the story, the important details of the story here. So, Mr. Chien was admitted to St. Andrew's Hospital 2 days ago with swelling and fluid buildup in his right knee, the result of a total knee replacement, which he underwent on this particular date due to osteoarthritis. Cool. So you've told me the background story very concisely here in a single sentence. The resulting pain and swelling have severely limited his mobility. Consequently, his self-care activities have been significantly compromised. Is that clear? Purpose statement, reason for writing, what you want the recipient to do, or the main medical issue and what you want the recipient to do, followed by expanding it out sufficiently. Okay? Hope that's clear. Do you have any questions about the purpose statement here? If you do, pop it into the chat. Let's stop here. Anything about that purpose part? Hopefully it's pretty clear. Mona, these are complex sentences. Yeah, they are. We'll get to sentence structure later on because OET writing, yes, it's a writing test, but it's about clarity. Okay. Now you can still write complex sentences and be clear. Okay. These are very, as far as I'm concerned, and please let me know what you think. I think these sentences are dead clear, right? Yes, they're complex in that they have subordinate clauses and there's different elements to the sentence. They're not just short, simple sentences, but they're still extremely clear. Clarity is what you're after here. Ifunanya, can the purpose sentence here, this one here at the top, can that be 2 sentences? Yes. Yep. I would go no more than 2 sentences. I would try to write it in 1 if you can, but if there's some sort of supplementary bit of information that requires an extra part, fine. That's fine. Wilson, did you have to add the relevant information in this paragraph? Did you have to add the relevant information in this paragraph? I'm not sure what you mean there, Wilson. This is, in terms of relevance, all of this information in the expanded purpose has to be absolutely relevant. No extraneous information, all completely relevant to that main medical issue there. Okay, cool. Let's push on. Let's go to, okay, so in the big crazy criteria table, if you did that well, you'll get 3 out of 3. Okay, that's what we're aiming for, 3 out of 3 for that one. Okay, then we move on to content based on case notes. Okay, content, let's talk about content. So the first part of content is this: the content of your letter is appropriate to your intended reader. Okay, so who are you writing to? And in the task, the writing task, right at the bottom of the case notes, it will tell you who you're writing to and the profession of the recipient. In this case, it's a physiotherapist. So think about all the case notes that you see, okay? Some of them are very technical. Some of them might relate to Mr. Chien's social needs. Some of them might relate to Mr. Chien's medications or I don't know. Then you get case notes that are related to Mr. Chien's physiological needs, okay? So those would be the ones that would be appropriate to my recipient here. So I'm selecting relevant case notes for the physio. The physio doesn't want to know about, I don't know, Mr. Chien's social history, unless it's relevant to his physical issues. Anyway, what you need to do here, the best way to think about maximizing your score here is put yourself in the shoes of the recipient. If you were the physiotherapist, what would you want to know about those case notes? And how would you want the letter written for you, the physiotherapist? Okay, put yourself in the shoes of the physio. 2B, this is really critical. The content of your letter addresses what is needed to continue care. What we're talking about here is the request paragraph down the bottom here. See that one in yellow that says kindly provide acute and comprehensive rehabilitation of Mr. Chien's right knee. This is really about the request paragraph. What is needed to continue care? And in that request paragraph or sentence, as I've just shown you, key information is included and you haven't missed any important details, okay? So it's very important. The one that we're looking at here is very simple. It's a very simple request. Basically, we were asking the physio to provide comprehensive rehabilitation for Mr. Chien's right knee. Simple. However, sometimes on test day, you will get your request paragraph will be quite complex because there will be a number of different things that you'll need to include in it, okay? And you need to make sure you get them all and that it's clear. Cool. By the way, why I've written physio here is because, again, putting yourself in the shoes of the recipient, everything you write needs to be keeping that recipient in mind. So when you write your purpose statement, think about you're writing it to the physio. The purpose expanded, going to the physio. This paragraph here, it's for the physio. This paragraph here, it's for the physio, etc. Okay. Okay, 2C. The content of your letter accurately represents the case notes. What this means is you've correctly interpreted the case notes, okay? So you haven't misinterpreted the case notes. This can be a problem. I think okay, let's look at this. Let's look at misinterpretation here. So have a look at the difference a verb tense can make with interpretation. Mr. Chien has osteoarthritis. Mr. Chien had osteoarthritis. I actually don't know if you can get rid of osteoarthritis. You tell me. Mr. Chien has had osteoarthritis in the past. Mr. Chien has a lump in his leg. Mr. Chien has lumps in his leg. Mr. Chien has a lumpy leg. Mr. Chien had knee pain, so he underwent a total knee replacement. Mr. Chien had a total knee replacement and is now experiencing pain. So you can see that the possibilities of misinterpretation there. Okay, the case notes will clearly say, total knee replacement followed by pain. Okay, so we know that the knee replacement came first. And now he's having issues, healing from the knee replacement. So you need to be careful about interpreting the case notes. And you get 5 minutes reading time at the start of the writing test. And in that time, try to really understand what those case notes mean, because when you turn them into your letter, they need to be accurately represented, okay? Most people don't have an issue with this, but sometimes I see misinterpretations, particularly around little things like this. There's a big difference between a lump and lumpy, right? Big difference. So you want to make sure that you're accurate in your when you're turning your case notes into sentences. Cool. I've mentioned this Showtime package. For those of you on YouTube, you might want to come across to e2language.com and sign up for free here so you can join our live classes and think about upgrading your package. All right, let's talk about the next one. Actually, let's stop and let's ask questions on content. If you have any questions on content there. Any questions on content that we just went through? Let's go back to refresh your memory. So we talked about interpretation. We talked about the request paragraph. And we talked about putting ourselves in the shoes of the recipient, writing the letter for and only for the recipient. So any questions about those? Nope. Looking good. Cool. That's a good sign. I know what will happen. I'll start to move forward and then somebody will put a question in. All right, let's do it anyway. And I'll come back to it. Okay, let's talk about, somebody asked before about complex sentences and, was it a little bit too verbose, the sentences that I wrote? And this is really about the style of your writing now. So we've talked about that purpose part. We've talked about the content part. Now we're talking about sort of stylistics of your writing. Okay, this one is about the length of your letter. So the length of the letter, the body of the letter is here in red. It does not include the address, the dear Miss Pasquale, the regarding the patient, the age of the patient. It starts with the purpose statement and ends with the, if you have any further queries, please don't hesitate to contact me. That should be approximately 180 to 200 words. I say approximately because OET are not strict on word count. As far as I know, they don't actually count your words. What they're doing instead is the length of your letter is appropriate to the case and reader. No irrelevant information is included and no relevant information is excluded. In other words, you've included only the important case notes. And if you only include the important case notes and you haven't included other stuff that's irrelevant, your word count will naturally be about 180 to 200 words. Okay, so they base their word count basically on, have you included only the important information? If you've excluded important information, your word count will be too low. And if you've included irrelevant information, your word count will be too high. So they're not really worried about word count per se. They're just worried about the inclusion of relevant information. Cool. I hope that's clear. Would I count my words on test day? No. What I would do if I were you is, leading up to the test, when I'm doing my preparation, I would spend time counting my body paragraph, the body of my letter, just so I get a feel for how long it should be. Okay. On test day, you can spend quite a bit of time counting words in the exam, and it can be a waste of time. So relevance is critical. Yeah, so what we're looking at here are all the case notes. If you included all of these case notes, your letter would be about 350 words long. So you have to exclude irrelevant stuff. Okay, next one. You summarized information effectively. Okay, so what we're talking about here is conciseness. So what you don't want to do is take a single case note, write a sentence, take the next case note, write a sentence, take the next case note. It's just going to be too long, right? So what you do need to do is summarize information. You need to take this case note, this case note, and this case note, and turn that into a sentence. Then take this one and this one, turn that into the second sentence, etc. So you're summarizing information. So for example, if we look at these case notes here on medical background, osteoarthritis, right knee, progressive severe pain, total knee replacement, severe difficulty with mobility, glandular fever, that's irrelevant because look, it's in 2014. Does the physio need to know about that? No. History of shingles? Probably not. So if I summarize this has got some other stuff in it, but Mr. Chien was admitted to St. Andrew's Hospital 2 days ago with swelling and fluid buildup in his right knee, the result of a total knee replacement, which he underwent on this date due to osteoarthritis. The resulting pain and swelling have severely limited his mobility. Nice way to summarize those case notes into a couple of sentences. Okay, when you're thinking about paragraphs, you need to think about you think about it in a way that you're telling a story, right? So let's say I'm the physiotherapist and I receive your letter. Ultimately, what you're doing is you're telling me a story, a very clinical and factual story about Mr. Chien, okay, and what happened to Mr. Chien and what you want me to do to Mr. Chien. Now, if I look into the paragraphs, you need to think about. You probably do this anyway, but it's good to be conscious of it. In your storytelling, what will be critical is the use of verb tenses and adverbs, etc. So take a look at these words in yellow. During Mr. Chien's time in care, the swelling was, past tense, treated by use of ice packs and painkillers, and it was noted, blah, 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 blah. His mobility was supervised and he was given. A lot of passive sentences here, by the way. I'm not saying the nurse supervised and the nurse gave him. We don't need to include the nurse here. We just make it passive. Then it turns, he still experiences, present tense, right? Ongoing. Then in the second part, that Mr. Chien is now medically stable and ready for discharge. His family who will supervise him, future. So what we're doing here with our language is we're telling that story and we're telling it very clearly. And this is where your language skills really come into it, okay? Okay, any questions on the length, summarizing case notes into nicely written sentences and paragraphs, and then the paragraphs themselves being clearly written? Any questions about that? Let's have a look. Cool Bananas says happiness. Arnaldo, could you tell us some tips about how to organize the letter? Because usually the notes are not in the right order. Yeah, exactly. That's right. You're not following the case notes and turning that into the sequence of the letter. No. Again, you're thinking about putting yourself in the shoes of the recipient. So I'm the physio. How do you want to tell the story? Are you going to tell the story by talking about sort of not important stuff first, or are you going to go straight to the heart of the story, talk about the important stuff first, and the secondary or supplementary stuff next? That's a good idea. So in short, with regard to your question, there are two main ways to structure your letter. One is you're talking about main medical issue, followed by secondary and tertiary issues. That is, the main medical issue here is the total knee replacement issues, the pain and the mobility issues. Secondary issue, I can't remember what it is. Let's make one up. Secondary to that is that Mr. Chien needs, I don't know. I can't think of it off the top of my head. There's other issues as well. Okay, like secondary in addition to that, and then maybe there's a tertiary issue that you need to tell the physio about. That's the first structure. So main medical issue, secondary, tertiary issue. Second main structure you can think of as chronological, that is time-based structure. So you might get a set of case notes, and this is particularly happens for doctors, whereby it'll have a series of dates of when the patients visited you. And what you're going to do then is you're going to look at those series of dates and what happened in each of those visits, and you're going to tell a story based on time. And that story might say something like, Mr. Chien first presented to my clinic in 2017 with da 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 da. Following this, in the next following paragraph, he then presented with ba 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 ba. Most recently, he attended my clinic yesterday and da 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 da. Okay, so you're telling a story based on, it's still probably main medical issue, but it's more sort of a time structure. So keep those two structures in mind. Jotan, your experts generally exclude allergy histories as it's not relevant. I can't comment on specific ones, unfortunately, because I just don't know. And plus I'm definitely not a medical professional. I think the way that the way that OET create these tests, these writing tests, is in conjunction with medical experts. And so the medical experts will put down a series of case notes. In fact, the OET letters that you work with on E2 language are written by, the medical ones are written by a doctor, a friend of mine. And basically what I told my friend was, write me a set of case notes, make sure there's heaps of relevant stuff to a medical issue, but then purposely put in some irrelevant things to distract the test candidate. And so what my friend did is just that. He's written a set of case notes based on this patient with critical information, and then he's put in some stuff that's not important or irrelevant. So I'm not sure about your specific comment there. Elizabeth. Okay, great question. Elizabeth has enrolled in the paper-based OET test, and Elizabeth's worried about editing her work, like moving stuff within the paragraph. If you can, please take the OET computer-based test. It is just far easier to edit your writing. Editing your writing on paper is a total pain in the butt because you have to draw lines and scribble stuff out. Sucks. So if you can, if you're taking the paper-based test, here's the advice for that. Plan your letter before you start writing it. Okay, you get 5 minutes to read the case notes. Think of the plan in your mind. Quickly jot down the plan. The plan should be basically what your paragraphs will be about, the structure of your letter. Think about the macro structure of your letter. And then when you start writing, think carefully about your sentences before you start writing. But yeah. Jotan, can we use, instead of saying Mr. Chen, can we use the patient? I think it's best to use the patient's name. Yep. Mona, is spelling important? We'll get to specific language aspects in a little bit, but the answer is yes. Not very important, but yes. Happiness. I think in the case of the physio, he doesn't need allergies to medications unless with creams that he might use. Good thinking. Right. Nice. All right, let's talk about this one here, genre and style. Okay, this is the next part that the examiners will be marking your writing against. This means basically that you're following the conventions of a good medical letter, referral, discharge, transfer letter. You're following typical conventions of writing. That's what genre and style mean. So your writing needs to be clinical and factual. People don't have an issue with this. Basically, write in a formal way. And when it's saying factual, don't include your personal opinions about things. You don't want to say, luckily he doesn't smoke, or his drinking is quite heavy. Just be very factual about that. Just say he drinks 2 to 3 units of alcohol socially, if it's relevant. Okay, so you want to avoid personal sort of opinions. Luckily, unfortunately, regrettably. Don't include emotionality into your letter. Next one. We've talked about this. The writing is appropriate to the reader's discipline and knowledge. What this really means here is a good way to think about this is, okay, so let's say you're a GP and you're referring to a physio, or you're a nurse referring to a physio. Now, the physio is the specialist, right? The physio knows more than you about what needs to happen with Mr. Chen's knee with regard to rehabilitation. So don't tell the physio what to do. You sort of need to defer your understanding to the physio, if that makes sense. So don't tell them what to do. Sort of, be very polite. Defer the, how can I say this? I'm struggling to find the words. Defer the responsibility. That's not right. You get what I mean. And also, if you're writing to a physiotherapist, don't write if you're a GP, for example, keep the reader's discipline in mind. You can't write very technical jargon sort of stuff to a physio who might not understand it. Okay, so just again, put yourself in the shoes of the reader. Just on technical terms, abbreviations, polite language, etc. Technical terms are fine if the recipient of your letter will understand them. Okay, that's fine. So you can use technical terms if it's appropriate to the reader. With regard to abbreviations, just be very careful. Just only use universal abbreviations, shortness of breath, whatever, hypertension, HTN, etc. are fine. If you have any sort of, if you don't know and you think maybe the abbreviation is just local to your region or to your country or to even your hospital, then avoid it. With regard to the tone of your language, it just needs to be it needs to be formal, polite, okay? Formal and polite. Cool, that's all. So let's go back through. Any questions on clinical factual writing, making sure that you're not sort of being patronizing to the reader, you're deferring the knowledge to them, and any questions about technical terms, jargon, abbreviations, and politeness of language? Any questions? Should be pretty clear, hopefully. Any questions about that? Any questions? Any questions about those three? Should be pretty clear, I think. Cool. I think it's all good. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, I am not checking your messages. I am paying attention to the people here in the E2 Language live class. So if you want more attention, then come across to e2language.com and sign up for free. But while you're on YouTube, do click the subscribe button because we do produce and make cool videos for YouTube. All right, second last one. Starts to get a bit more straightforward. Organization and layout. Okay, so here's your letter, right? The organization needs to be appropriate, logical, clear. In other words, the story flows from beginning to end. Key information is highlighted. So remember before we talked about the paragraphs and using the verb tenses and the prepositions, etc., to tell the story within the paragraph, and the story has to flow. Like we talked about, we use past tense to present tense to future tense to tell that bit of the story. What this 5B is referring to is important information. Important information is not sort of hidden in the paragraph. Important information is not buried in the paragraph. Important information is very clear in the paragraph. For example, let's say you have a specific, really important bit that you need to put in. You might preface that by saying, importantly, comma, Mr. Chien, da, 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 da. So make that really clear, importantly. Tell the reader that it's important, or notably, or importantly, or please keep in mind, something like that. Subsections are well organized. That is your paragraph. You've split out your paragraphs into the sort of themes. And the overall letter is well laid out. Any questions on letter layout here? Analdo, is there any chart or reference material where I can see most common abbreviations and acronyms used in the OET test notes? I can't think of one, Analdo, but basically the rule of thumb is this. If there's an abbreviation used in the case notes, and if you're a recipient, it's appropriate to tell them that abbreviation, you can use that abbreviation, okay? And just as another rule of thumb is OET will only use very common universal abbreviations. So it's okay to use them, but do keep in mind who you're writing to. Maybe the physiotherapist, it's not appropriate to use some medical abbreviation, right? But I wouldn't worry too much about it. Nasreen, do I need to write all the medicines mentioned in the case notes? It depends. It depends on who you're writing to. If you're writing to a physiotherapist, would you write down all the medications? No. If you're writing a discharge letter back to the patient's GP and the patient's all of a sudden taking all these new medications, would you mention that to the GP? Yes. So yeah, Think about who you're writing to and whether it's relevant and appropriate. Liji, do we have to write hospital name like admitted to hospital? Is it okay? Probably, yeah, I mean, we've done it here. See the second paragraph, Mr. Chen was admitted to St. Andrew's Hospital. Yeah, it's one of those things where I guess it doesn't really matter. You can or you can't. It's not going to be the end of the world. Okay, we're now on to language, and this is actually a language test, believe it or not. So what are you scored on with regard to your writing skills, your language skills, your English language skills? Okay, overall language use makes meaning clear. Clarity is key here, okay? I should, as the examiner, look at your letter and it should just be very clear. No, it's not obscure, it's not convoluted, it's not overly complex, it's just clear. And in order to make clear language, we need to use precise vocabulary. And we don't need to show off here with our vocab. We just need to, again, choose the word that is simplest and clearest. In order to achieve clarity, we need accurate grammar. Sentence structures. When I talk, the difference between grammar and sentence structures here is grammar refers to accuracy of your verb tenses, accuracy of your preposition choice, accuracy of singular and plural nouns, the little parts at the word level. We're thinking about the word level here, or the phrase level. And then with sentence structures, we're thinking more about word order, really word order, I guess. What else? Sentence structures. Yeah, not run-on sentences, you know where to put the full stop, etc. Spelling, someone mentioned that before, needs to be accurate. And punctuation needs to be accurate as well. So let's think about this. Whoops. So let's think about grammatical accuracy for a second. Again, we talked about has versus had versus has had, or is having, or will have, or verb tenses, for example, are critical to get right. When did this happen? When. Verb tenses embody time. They tell you when something happened, is happening, will happen, etc. Might have happened. You might throw in a modal verb. And here we have singular noun, a lump, versus plural noun, lumps. Okay, a lump versus lumps. Big difference, right? Make sure you get that right. And then versus, and the use of an adjective here, lumps versus lumpy. Okay, you need to think about you need to get that right. Okay, little things like that. Cool. All right. If you have less than 30 days to prepare for your OET test, then I recommend you sign up for this Showtime package for $89. How much is the OET test? It's like $400 or something. It's pretty expensive, and you don't want to screw it up on test day. What you want to do is screw this up, because by screwing this up in the mock test, that's perfect, because you're going to get feedback. Then you know what not to screw up on test day, if that makes sense. So this is a perfect opportunity. It comes with the mini mock test. It comes with what I think is a great thing is the one-on-one tutorial with the teacher. These are terrific. So here's the mock test. You get test simulation. You get a one-on-one speaking mock test with one of our experts. You receive comprehensive report card and feedback, telling you what you need to improve upon before test day. And the one-on-one tutorials is just, you can choose listening, speaking, writing, reading, etc. 45 minutes, one-on-one, really powerful, especially for writing and speaking. Lots of personalized feedback there. Cool. All right. Any last questions? Any questions? Do we need to have answered that one? Okay. Subiksha has a question about, and it's a great question. I'm going to go back and show you, Subiksha, how to answer that one. Hold on one second. Let me find this. Okay, let me just clarify this because this is a good question. Okay, so Subiksha's question is about the date here. What date is this? This date that you write at the top of your letter or below the address will be the date of the exam. So what's the date today? It's the 16th. So imagine my exam is tomorrow, so the 17th tomorrow. So I'm taking the exam tomorrow. So I'm going to write 17. By the way, you can write this in British style, US style, doesn't matter. 17th of what? I have no idea what month we're in. 10th, is it? 10th. So that's the date of the exam goes there. And then you'll find in the case notes other dates. They'll all be up to date, okay? The problem is when you're preparing for OET is that we write these case notes, 2 years ago, and so it's got old dates on it. So it's a bit confusing. Anyway, I hope that answers your question, Subiksha. Oops, what am I doing? Mona, most case notes in classes are referral letters. Wish we had a couple of discharge letters. We do. There should be discharge transfer coming up soon. We do more referral letters because on test day, there's a higher likelihood that you'll get referral letters. Ligi, are there any arrangement for mock tests like writing on paper? No, our mock test is written on the computer. The reason is because it's submitted through the computer to the teacher who then provides you feedback. Sorry if you're taking paper-based exam, but it's like we can't deal with screenshots and scanned documents and stuff. It's a total pain. Apathy. What if I just bought the $64 mini mock test plus 25 live classes? Would I be able to get a different mini mock test? No, sorry about that. Mona, I have the express package. Where can I find my writing with feedback? Is it part of the mini mock? The express package just comes with live classes and live classes and the platform content, the self-study material. You need to upgrade to the Express Plus package. You can, now that you've purchased that, you've bought that, that's fine. You can upgrade and just pay the difference. I think it's an additional $20 or something to get the mini mock test, which will come with the writing feedback and speaking mock test. So you might want to think about upgrading. Click on the upgrade button. Ivan, Jay, I'd like to confirm listening and reading both have parts A, B, and C. Will each part be scored and then taken the average, or will they be marked as a whole? Thanks. I don't know. I don't know how OET calculate their scores, to be honest. I don't know if they make that information publicly available. So if I did answer, it would be pure speculation. And if you do read it somewhere, apart from official OET website, it'll be speculation. I can tell you one thing, which is interesting, is that the scoring, your score is based on how other people perform on test day. So you're not scored on the absolute, like if you get, because all tests are ultimately slightly different in difficulty, right? What they do is they see what the average score was for the whole cohort of test takers for that particular test. And then your score, your points are calculated according to how everybody else went in that test. I'm quite sure that that's the case. I hope that helps. But anyway, the point is you'll just try to blitz all of it. Prem, about writing the dates, is it month, day, month? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Hussein, it is a discharge letter in which you don't need to write the past medical history or social history. Is there anything else we should not write in discharge letter in contrast to referral letter? Yeah, typically when you're writing a discharge letter, you're sending the patient back to where they came from. For example, let's say you're writing to an aged care home because one of the patients fell and broke his hip and then was in your clinic or hospital for several days. You're telling the story and then you're discharging the patient back into the nursing home. So you're right. If that's the case, there'd be no need to talk about past medical history because that nursing home would know that patient's past medical history. Typically, yes. Is there anything else regarding that? No, I think that's right. Well spotted, Hussein. In a referral letter, after the introduction, is it okay to write the past medical and social history and then can expand the case notes? Just be careful, Hussein, because even in a referral letter, the recipient might know the patient already. And that information will come from the task. Let me find, okay. See this task up here? Let's have a closer look at it. It says, using the information given in the case notes, write a referral letter to Miss Loretta Pasquale, who is a physiotherapist at blah, 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 blah. Here, we can assume that Miss Pasquale does not know the patient and therefore does not need any medical history. She does not know the patient and therefore probably does need to know what's going on with regard to Mr. Chien's medical history. If this said, write a referral letter to Mr. Chien's physiotherapist, Miss Loretta Pasquale, we can assume that Miss Pasquale knows Mr. Chien, right? Because it's his physiotherapist. Therefore, we don't need to include medical history stuff. So keep that in mind. Does the recipient of the letter know the patient or not? If no, then maybe medical history would be relevant. If yes, then medical history is probably irrelevant, right? Crazy stuff. Happiness. In the mini mock test, does it matter if I take the speaking mock test first? Nope, you can take the speaking mock test first. That's completely fine. What I do recommend is please don't wait until the last 2 or 3 days before the test to book your mock test or your tutorials, because all the spots fill up and you'll have to take it at like midnight. So please get in early, book it a week or 2 weeks in advance even. It's not a bad thing to do the mock test like 2 weeks before your test, because you don't want to get a rude shock 2 days before your test and go, oh my God, I'm not doing very well in writing. You want to get that feeling 2 weeks before your test, so then you can start making changes. Teresa, where can I find structures of all the letter types on the E2 portal? Yeah, so let me show you. Hold on. Hey, okay, hold on. Okay, so if I log in here, it's OET. All right, and I go into OET course, and I go to writing, and I go to practice tests. You'll see there are 6 practice tests here. So each of these practice writing tests come with a model letter. So let's take a look at this one here. So this is a model letter. I think this is a transfer letter. Anyway, you can see. So there are 6 model letters, 6 for doctors, 6 for nurses. So you can read through these carefully. Look carefully at these letters, because, I mean, have a look at this purpose statement here. Thank you for accepting Mr. McDonald into your care for further rehabilitation and management. Nice, concise. And then what happened here? Mr. McDonald underwent a routine. You can see everything we've just talked about today should be clearly a part of, or are, they are, everything, sorry, get my verb tenses right. Everything we talked about today is embedded in these model letters, okay? From politeness and abbreviations to structures to the purpose statement to relevant case notes, etc. So do read these model letters carefully, because they're good. They're good. Cool. Mona, is spelling important in listening part A? No. No, you can spell words incorrectly in listening part A and still get a point, because, believe it or not, it's marked by people, human beings mark it. In reading part A, however, you must spell the word correctly because you're taking it directly from the text and writing it in, copying it. Hussein, one more. I want to ask, is it okay to write past medical and social history just after the introduction and then expand the case notes? Or is it more appropriate to expand the case notes after the introduction and write history elsewhere? Hussein, I reckon take a look at all the model letters on E2 language there. Get a good feel for what we've done with our model letters. Have a look at those case notes, have a look at our model letters, see how we've done it. There's no real hard and fast answer there because it does depend on the task, it depends on the case notes, etc. So have a look, see if you can find the logic in what we've done there. Spend some time reading those model letters. I think that would be the best thing to do. Thank you very much for coming along. I hope it was helpful. Hopefully you've got a very thorough idea of what the examiners are looking for in your writing. Now it's up to you to actually practice. You need to put pen to paper because it's one thing to understand all of this stuff theoretically. It's another thing to actually do it yourself because you find like, oh, what the hell do I do? You want to have that feeling before test day. You don't want to have that feeling on test day. Cool.